You don't join the IRGC. You're chosen by it. From the moment you step through that gate, your life stops belonging to you. It belongs to the ideology, the mission, and the system that will define every breath you take from this day forward. This isn't a career, this isn't a job, this is a transformation, one that begins long before you ever hold a weapon, long before you wear the uniform, long before anyone outside these walls even knows your name. This is your life. As every rank in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, you begin at the bottom, a recruit, and there is no glamour here, no parade, no welcome ceremony that makes you feel like a hero. There is only the cold floor, the darkness before sunrise, and a voice cutting through the silence with orders your body isn't ready for yet. Your muscles burn from yesterday. Your mind is already questioning. But questioning, you'll quickly learn, is a luxury you no longer have. Your instructors are not just soldiers. They are believers. And they are not simply teaching you how to shoot or march or survive. They are rewiring you. Every drill, every sleepless night, every moment of physical punishment is designed to strip away the person you were and replace them with something more useful. Obedience isn't demanded of you. It's built into you, layer by layer, until compliance feels natural and resistance feels foreign. You're not just being trained to fight. You're being reshaped from the inside out. Because in the IRGC, the body follows the mind, and the mind must follow the supreme leader. That isn't a suggestion. That is the foundation everything else is built upon. The ideology isn't a background detail, it is the oxygen of this institution. You pray when you're told to pray. You study the texts they put in front of you. You learn the language of sacrifice and divine duty until it stops feeling like a script and starts feeling like your own conviction. By the time you pass basic training, you don't just know how to handle a weapon. You know what you're fighting for, or at least you've been told what you're fighting for. And for now, that's enough. You become a trained soldier. You've passed the first real test. There's a weight to carrying that weapon now that goes beyond the physical. It's a symbol of trust, proof that the system has decided you're worth something. Your early deployments aren't on foreign soil, they're domestic. Crowd control, surveillance operations, maintaining visible presence in cities where unrest simmers just beneath the surface. You're not defending the borders of Iran yet. You're defending something more fragile and more important to those in power: control itself. When protests break out, you're there. When dissent rises, you're part of the mechanism that pushes it back down. And somewhere in those early months, a realization settles over you like cold water. The battlefield isn't always somewhere far away. Sometimes it's a street you grew up on. Sometimes it's your own country you're being deployed against. You watch civilians scatter. You watch fear spread across faces that look like your families. You don't say this out loud. You bury it, because survival here depends on compartmentalizing things that don't serve the mission. And you get very good at burying things. You rise to non-commissioned officer. Now you lead. There's a shift in how others look at you, and more importantly, in how you look at yourself. The younger recruits you now oversee carry that same raw confusion you once had, that mixture of fear and ambition and uncertainty. But you don't comfort them. You sharpen them. Because softness at this level costs lives, and the system doesn't reward compassion. It rewards results. You're harder now, more deliberate. You've stopped questioning orders not because you've forgotten how, but because you've watched what happens to those who do. The lesson was quiet and effective, the way most lessons in this institution are. And yet, something is changing. You start hearing fragments, whispers about operations beyond Iran's borders, missions that don't get discussed in open briefings, assignments that carry a different kind of weight. You want to know more. You want in. That hunger is exactly what the system was waiting for. You become an officer, and everything shifts. You are no longer just executing orders. You are part of the structure that crafts them. Your training expands into strategy, intelligence gathering, and the mechanics of asymmetric warfare. You study the conflicts in Syria and Iraq and Lebanon, not as distant news stories, but as case studies in how influence is projected and power is sustained across borders. You begin to understand that the IRGC doesn't think the way a conventional military thinks. It doesn't just aim to win battles. It aims to shape the entire environment around the battle. You may find yourself assigned to a specialized branch: cyber operations, missile, development, intelligence analysis, or something that doesn't have a clean title in any public document. Whatever it is, you understand that you've crossed into a different tier of this institution, a tier where information is currency and discretion is survival. You learn to read between lines that most people don't even know exist. You enter the Quds Force. This is where shadows replace uniforms. The Quds Force is the IRGC's arm that reaches beyond Iran's borders, quietly, precisely, and almost always invisibly. You are no longer a soldier in the traditional sense. You are an operator. Your work takes you into conflict zones where Iran officially has no presence, but where its fingerprints are on almost everything. You coordinate with allied militias, provide training to proxy forces, and execute operations that are never publicly acknowledged and never officially confirmed. Nothing you do makes the news under your name. Nothing you accomplish gets a ceremony, but the outcomes you help engineer reshape political realities across entire regions. You move through cities under different names, with different identities, carrying the weight of a mission that exists only in encrypted communications and classified briefings. You carry that knowledge alone, in silence, because that is the nature of this work. And somewhere in the middle of it all, you understand something that changes your perspective permanently. The true power of the IRGC was never purely military. It is geopolitical. It operates in the space between war and diplomacy, between influence and intimidation, and it does so with a patience and precision that most conventional militaries simply aren't built for. You climb higher. Senior officer, the rooms you sit in now are different. These aren't tactical briefing rooms. These are strategy rooms, where conversations involve oil routes, regional alliances, economic leverage, and the long-term positioning of Iran's influence across the Middle East and beyond. You're thinking in timelines that stretch years, sometimes decades. You oversee operations that span multiple countries simultaneously. You review intelligence reports that will never reach public knowledge. You understand how narratives are built and weaponized, how a story told in the right way at the right moment can be just as powerful as a missile strike. At this level, you don't just see the game being played. You help design the board it's played on. You reach command-level leadership. This is real power, and it looks nothing like what you imagined when you were that exhausted recruit standing in the dark. You are no longer in the field. You don't need to be. The field moves because of your decisions. You oversee entire divisions, manage vast resources, and ensure that loyalty within your ranks is not assumed, but actively maintained. You understand that an institution this powerful is also one that consumes its own when necessary. Because at this elevation, threats don't always come from outside. They come from ambitious subordinates, from shifting political winds, from rivals within the system who want what you have. You've seen careers end overnight. You've seen men who gave everything to this institution quietly disappear from the official record. Trust is rationed, loyalty is tested constantly, and control over your people, your operations, your narrative is the only currency that truly matters. And then there is the top. Few ever reach it. Fewer still survive it for long. At the highest levels of IRGC leadership, the line between military commander and political force disappears entirely. You are not just shaping operations, you are shaping national policy. You sit at the intersection of military power, religious authority, and economic control. You are in the inner circle that protects the entire revolutionary system, enforces its ideology, and ensures its survival against every internal and external threat. Your name carries weight in capitals far beyond Tehran. Your decisions influence events on multiple continents, but this position comes with a cost that compounds every single day. You are always watched, always assessed, always a potential target, not just by foreign intelligence services and adversaries, but sometimes by the very system you've spent your entire life serving. The same institution that elevated you is fully capable of removing you if the calculus ever changes. Because at this level of visibility, you are both indispensable and dangerous. And in this world, that combination has a very short shelf life if you aren't careful every single moment. Here is what no one tells you when you first walk through that gate as a recruit. No matter your rank, no matter how high you climb or how much power you accumulate, your life in the IRGC was never truly yours to begin with. Every mission, every sacrifice, every belief you hold was shaped and directed by something larger than any individual. You are part of a system that was built to outlast all of its members, that demands loyalty as an absolute condition of existence, and that has no clean exit for those who have seen what you've seen and done what you've done. You don't retire from this. You don't simply walk away, because in the IRGC, you don't just serve the mission, you become it.